Silence in its purest form is not the absence of words. It is the presence of control. It is a decision, calculated and cold, not to reveal. While most men speak to prove their importance, the strategic man knows that every word is a potential liability. Each sentence you utter is a mirror held up to your mind. It reflects your fears, your ambitions, your weaknesses. In silence, you preserve the advantage. You become unreadable, and that unreadability is power. In every court, in every circle, and in every room, there are those who speak to fill the space. They cannot bear the weight of quiet, for silence demands self-assurance. It reveals insecurity in those who depend on noise to be noticed. But the man who can hold his tongue, who can listen while others expose themselves, he gains the most dangerous kind of advantage, information. While others perform, he observes. While others confess, he studies. This man never plays his full hand. He lets others guess and wonder. The more questions they have about you, the more they project. And the more they project, the more they expose. Their assumptions become your intelligence. Their confidence becomes their own trap. Silence is a weapon not just in speech, but in action. To make no announcement is to keep your intentions hidden. While others show their next move, you mask yours. You don't reveal when you're weak. You don't boast when you're strong. You let results, not declarations, speak. The man who loudly declares his goals invites resistance. He awakens envy. He rouses opposition. But the man who moves in silence bypasses the traps laid by visibility. He arrives before they even know he began the journey. There is also psychological violence in silence. When someone expects a response and receives none, their mind races. They create narratives. They wonder where they stand. Your silence becomes their mirror, forcing them to wrestle with their own thoughts, their own insecurities. A well-timed pause can dismantle an entire persona. A refusal to speak can feel like a rejection more brutal than words. Power does not always shout. In fact, real power rarely raises its voice. It remains calm, still, deliberate. You do not need to bark when you know you bite. This silence is not passive. It is an active, conscious stance. It is not submission, it is strategy. To withhold is to protect. To listen is to dominate. Even when attacked, the man who remains quiet unsettles his enemies. They want a reaction. They feed on chaos. But you deny them the satisfaction. You become the void they cannot understand. You become a black hole that absorbs their energy and reflects nothing. You become dangerous not because of what you say, but because they never know what you will say next, or if you'll speak at all. There is no greater threat to the herd than the man who chooses to walk alone. A man who focuses on himself becomes a mirror to the mediocrity of others. He doesn't chase applause, approval, or recognition. He builds in silence, sharpens his skills in solitude, and returns not with words, but with undeniable results. In a world addicted to noise, the one who withdraws to concentrate on his own evolution is seen as dangerous because he cannot be controlled, cannot be distracted, and cannot be predicted. His focus is not on gossip, not on competition, but on domination through preparation. Most people are addicted to attention. They crave being seen, being heard, being acknowledged. They measure their worth by the reactions of others. But the man who focuses on himself understands that attention is a drug for the weak. It is a leash disguised as praise. It conditions people to dance for crumbs of validation. But real power grows in the dark. It is developed away from applause. It is built in the moments where no one is watching, when every excuse to quit is present, and yet the work is done anyway. That man is not building for the world to cheer. He is building because his ambition is not tied to their opinions. To focus on yourself is to take full responsibility for your life. It is to remove blame, to eliminate distraction, to stop waiting for someone else to hand you a solution. It is to realize that no one is coming to save you. No mentor, no friend, no lover, no family member will walk the path for you. And once that truth sinks in, the noise dies down. You stop asking for advice from people who are lost themselves. You stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's highlight reel. You no longer care who's watching, who's winning, who's louder. Your eyes fixate on your mission. Your hands get dirty with the work. Your time becomes sacred. Focusing on yourself means every decision is weighed for its long-term consequence. The short-term high of comfort, laziness, or popularity is discarded in favor of long-term positioning. You invest in knowledge instead of entertainment. You train discipline instead of feeding desire. You create systems, routines, boundaries because your energy is finite. And every wasted hour is a weapon turned against your future. People won't understand this mindset, and they don't need to. You didn't come to be understood, you came to rise. The world is full of men who are distracted. They are busy chasing trends, fighting petty battles, obsessed with being liked. These are the same men who grow bitter as life passes them by. But the man who focuses on himself watches this chaos from a distance. He is not moved. He is not shaken. He is busy crafting a life that others will one day envy. Not because he asked for attention, but because he became impossible to ignore. Every day becomes a chess move. Every moment is an opportunity to strengthen the mind, the body, the strategy. He is not building a life, they are building noise. And when the time comes, when the results are too loud to be silenced, they will look back and realize he was never distracted. He was simply focused, relentlessly, ruthlessly, obsessively focused on becoming untouchable. There is a reason the strongest men in history walked alone, not because they lacked allies, but because they understood that clarity does not emerge from noise. It is in the absence of voices, opinions, and distractions that a man begins to hear the most dangerous sound of all, his own mind. In isolation, there are no filters, no masks, no performances. You are stripped of the illusions the world has placed on you. The fake identities, the social pressures, the need to be agreeable, all of it dies in solitude. What remains is the raw, unrefined version of you, and that is where transformation begins. A man cannot lead others if he cannot first lead himself, and he cannot lead himself until he knows himself. This self-knowledge is not found in the crowd. It is not earned through applause or agreement. It is discovered in the silence of isolation, when your mind is your only companion and your demons have no place to hide. Most people run from solitude because they fear what it reveals. They fear the voices that emerge when the noise is gone. But the man who seeks greatness runs toward it, because he knows that clarity, power, and mastery are born in stillness, not chaos. Isolation is not exile. It is an elevation. It is a conscious withdrawal from the mediocre in order to forge something exceptional. While others are busy exchanging energy for attention, the man in isolation stores it, refines it, multiplies it. He learns to generate power from within rather than extract it from others. In this space, his thoughts sharpen like blades. He reflects not just on where he is, but on where he's going and who he must become to get there. There is no one to flatter him, no one to lie to him, no one to distract him from the brutal truths he must face. It is in this crucible that weakness is burned out and purpose is forged. Solitude also hardens the spirit. The man who can endure himself, who can sit alone in silence for hours, days, weeks, he becomes immune to the manipulations of society. He cannot be swayed by opinion. He does not panic when left out. He does not beg for inclusion or understanding. He becomes sufficient, autonomous, dangerous, because he no longer needs the crowd. And the man who needs no one becomes the one others gravitate toward, not because he asks, but because power pulls. In isolation, time bends. The hours you would waste in pointless conversations or superficial relationships are now reclaimed. You begin to see how little most people value their time, and how much they expect you to waste yours with them. But when you are alone, every second becomes sacred. You move with intention. You begin to design your days like a strategist, sharpening your skills, expanding your mind, strengthening your will. Isolation teaches you that time is not a commodity to be traded. It is a weapon to be wielded. And while others are bleeding it away, you are learning how to make every moment count. Clarity emerges when you remove the dust of distraction. You begin to see your patterns, the habits that destroy you, the fears that haunt you, the desires that control you. You begin to see people for who they really are, not who they pretend to be. You stop romanticizing relationships that drain you. You stop entertaining friendships based on convenience. You learn that most people are not allies. They are liabilities disguised as company. And when you see it clearly, you cut without guilt. You detach without apology, because now you know that the path you walk cannot be shared with the uncommitted. There is a sacred violence in isolation. It forces rebirth. You kill the version of yourself that was addicted to noise. You bury the persona that lived for others. You erase the fantasies that kept you small. And from that destruction, something rare is born. A man who thinks for himself, acts for himself, and lives by a code not borrowed, but built. The world will try to pull you back in. It will tempt you with comfort, with attention, with illusion. But once you've tasted the power of solitude, once you've experienced the mental sharpness and spiritual stillness it gives you, everything else begins to look like a distraction, a trap, a step backward. Most men will never access this level of focus. They will always fear being alone, and so they will remain fragmented, diluted, easy to manipulate. But the man who chooses isolation walks a different path. He builds in the shadows. He trains when no one is watching. He bleeds in silence so he can rule in daylight. And every moment he spends alone adds to his strength. He becomes a force not because the world gave him power, but because he took it, forged it, and refined it in the one place no one dared to look, in himself. In the silence, in solitude, in the shadows where real power is born. When you master silence, you no longer play the game on their board. You force others to reveal themselves on yours. Words are weapons, but silence is the battlefield. People speak to be heard, but more often they speak to be understood, to be accepted, to be validated. And in that desperate need to be seen, they spill secrets, expose vulnerabilities, and unveil motives. When you remain silent, you become a blank canvas onto which others paint their true selves. They reveal not only what they want, but what they fear, what they envy, what they hide behind. Your silence becomes a trigger, a mirror, a magnifying glass, and through it, you gain an advantage they don't even realize they've given you. Silence is not just the absence of words. It is pressure. It is stressful. It is psychological dominance. The moment you refuse to fill the air with predictable reactions, people begin to unravel. They feel the need to break the silence, to restore the social balance, to decode your stillness. And in doing so, they overcompensate, they say too much, they try too hard, they scramble to figure out where they stand with you. And in their scrambling, they drop their mask. The truth they hide so carefully behind crafted sentences and rehearsed personas begins to leak out through slips of the tongue, nervous laughter, body language, or a single unguarded phrase. The world is filled with performers. Everyone wears a costume, a disguise tailored to the occasion, but silence strips them of their script. When you speak, you allow others to respond to your narrative, but when you don't, they are forced to rely on their own. And their own narrative is where their truth lies. If you want to see what lies beneath the surface of a person, remove the crutch of conversation. Watch how they behave in the absence of feedback. Watch what they reveal when no cues are given, no reassurance offered. The impatient ones will speak first, the insecure will overshare, the arrogant will attempt to provoke, and the manipulative will try to bait you into talking, because your silence threatens their control. In negotiation, silence is leverage. It makes the other side uncomfortable, unsure. It forces them to fill the space with justifications, compromises, or truths they didn't intend to share. The more they talk, the more power you gain. A single pause at the right moment can collapse their confidence. They begin to question their position. They try to interpret your silence as weakness or strength, but the uncertainty itself is the weapon. They cannot prepare a counterstrike when they don't know your position. And in war, whether of words, minds, or strategies, uncertainty is a form of victory. Even in personal relationships, silence is revealing. The way someone reacts to your silence tells you everything about their intentions. Do they respect your space or try to invade it? Do they assume malice or remain patient? Do they escalate or maintain control? Most people are addicted to constant communication. And when you withhold it, they reveal how deeply dependent they are on being fed emotional validation. They expose their insecurities not by what they say, but by how they behave when you say nothing. Silence exposes their level of emotional maturity. It reveals who is calm and who is chaotic, who is grounded and who is needy, who is real and who is playing a part. Silence is also a test of your own strength. It is the restraint of not reacting, the discipline of holding back when provoked. It is choosing to study rather than speak, to observe rather than participate. In moments where others would rush to defend themselves, explain themselves, justify their thoughts, you say nothing. And in doing so, you remain untouchable. You give away no weakness. You become unreadable, and in that unreadability lies your advantage. Because people cannot attack what they cannot define, they cannot manipulate what they cannot measure, and they cannot control what they do not understand. Every time you choose silence, you gain information. You see who interrupts, who listens, who dominates, who submits. You see how people deal with discomfort, how they reveal their character in the absence of comfort. Most people do not realize how loudly they speak when they are trying to interpret your silence. Their assumptions become their confessions. Their reactions become their biographies. Your silence becomes the spark that ignites the unraveling of their false composure. And all you had to do was observe. Silence is not passive. It is an active force. It is a strategy. It is a filter that separates the genuine from the deceptive, the thoughtful from the impulsive, the strong from the insecure. When mastered, silence becomes a language more powerful than speech, a language that extracts the truth without force, that dismantles pretense without confrontation, and that dominates without ever needing to raise a single word. Transformation is not romantic. It is not gentle, not poetic, not a graceful unfolding of potential. It is war, a violent tearing apart of who you once were. Most people do not change. They decorate their cages. They shift routines, adjust habits, tweak their language. But deep down, they remain tethered to the same insecurities, the same fears, the same desperate need to be liked. True transformation begins when you abandon this need, when you reject comfort, and when you look in the mirror with the intention to destroy what's staring back. A man cannot build a new version of himself while protecting the old one. He must be willing to cut with precision, to burn with intensity, to eliminate every part of himself that no longer serves the future he envisions. To do this, a man must focus with a ruthlessness that terrifies the average mind. It means saying no to everything that once fed your weakness. No to the idle conversations, no to the shallow friendships, no to the late night escapes that drain your edge. It is not about balance, it is about obsession. It is not about pleasing others. It is about building yourself into someone that even your former self would not recognize. Most people will never reach this level of transformation because it requires sacrifice at a level they are unwilling to offer. It requires becoming the villain in someone else's story. It requires being misunderstood, criticized, abandoned, and not flinching. Ruthless focus is not about intensity alone. It is about consistency in the face of distraction. The world will throw everything it has at you to derail your momentum. People will try to pull you back into mediocrity. They'll label your silence as arrogance. They'll interpret your detachment as hostility. They will weaponize your transformation because it reflects their stagnation. But the man who is locked in on his mission does not stop to explain. He does not shrink to comfort the fragile. He does not dilute his fire to make others warm. He moves forward regardless of the noise. Every day must become a calculation, every moment measured. When you truly want to transform, your time is no longer yours to waste. You wake with purpose. You go to war with your vices. You study, you train, you build. And when the distractions arrive dressed as pleasure, dressed as entertainment, dressed as opportunities, you see them for what they are. Weapons sent to destroy your focus. A man in transformation becomes cold, not because he lacks heart, but because he cannot afford warmth in a world built on temptation. He begins to view his life like a battlefield. Every weakness is a threat, every indulgence a potential defeat. The old version of you will beg for survival. It will seduce you with nostalgia, memories, identities you used to wear. It will whisper that you are going too far, that you are losing yourself. But that voice is not you. It is the echo of the man who kept you small. And you must bury him, not with kindness, with force. You must suffocate that old self with discipline. You must outwork his habits. You must outthink his doubts. You must outlast his comfort. Every time he shows up, you must show him what happens to weakness when it dares to rise again. This process is brutal. You will lose people. You will lose parts of yourself. You will wake up with scars on your mind. You will question whether this path is worth it. And in those moments, your focus must become absolute. You must remember that the world rewards not the talented, not the clever, not the good-hearted, but the disciplined, the consistent, the focus. Every man wants to change until it means giving something up, until it means sacrificing the applause, the companionship, the pleasure, the familiarity. But transformation is a price you pay alone. No one claps while you suffer. No one notices while you grind. No one celebrates your solitude. But they will see the result, and they will act as if they always believed in you. But you will know the truth. They only recognize the success, not the suffering it took to become it. Focus, in this form, becomes a weapon. It is how you cut through the noise, how you filter the real from the irrelevant. It is how you train your mind to obey, your body to submit, your actions to align with your vision. Without it, you are a slave to your impulses. With it, you become the architect of your future. You begin to understand that comfort is the enemy. That familiarity is a sedative. That pleasure is often the bait for a trap. You become surgical with your time, brutal with your boundaries, and relentless with your goals. Transformation does not respond to wishes. It does not care for intentions. It bows only to action. Consistent, focused, ruthless action. The man who transforms is not the one who wants it most, but the one who is willing to suffer for it longest. He is willing to walk through fire without complaint. He is willing to be seen as mad, obsessed, too intense, because he knows what he is building cannot be explained to those who are still comfortable being average. His world shrinks by design: fewer people, fewer distractions, fewer compromises, more clarity, more control, more power. He understands that focus is not a skill. It is a way of life, a weapon forged in the crucible of discomfort. And only those who wield it without mercy ever truly transform. In a world that rewards noise, distraction, and desperation for attention, the man who dares to walk in silence, who focuses solely on himself, becomes a threat. His silence is not weakness, but warfare. His focus is not obsession, but strategy. While the masses exhaust themselves seeking validation, he sharpens himself like a blade in the shadows. Through ruthless isolation, disciplined self-focus, and the power of silence, he transforms into something rare. A man no longer controlled by the world, but one who controls it. He speaks less and sees more. He withdraws not to disappear, but to dominate. And when he returns, he is not the same. He is stronger, colder, sharper. He is not who he was, and he never will be again.